Welcome back to Fireplace Conversations, where African stories ignite global impact. I'm your host, Dr. Ikechukwu Okoh, and today's episode is deeply personal, profoundly necessary, and universally relevant. If you are the kind of person others depend on, the fixer, the builder, the provider, the emotional anchor, then this episode is for you. We often speak of building businesses, systems, careers, ministries, movements. But what if I told you that the very act of building without boundaries, without replenishment, can become the very thing that breaks you? Today's episode is titled, Build Before You Break. Because burnout is real, and it doesn't start with fatigue. It starts with forgetting that you too are human. Let me tell you a story my father told me. There was once a man in an Ika village. He was strong, reliable, everyone's go-to. When the harvest failed, he was the first to give. When a house caught fire, he led the rebuild. When the village square needed cleaning, he swept it before dawn. He never said no, he never missed a call for help, he never rested. Until one day, walking a child home from the river, he collapsed. They rushed him to the herbalist, but it was too late. At his funeral, they praised him. He never stopped working. He was always there. He carried the village on his back. And then an old woman stood up and said, maybe if we had let him rest or taught him how, he would still be here. The entire village fell silent. And for the first time in years, the square remained empty. No sweeping, no fixing, just silence. That silence carried a message. Even the strongest will fall when rest is postponed too long. We've all seen this man. Sometimes we are this man. The doctor who never takes annual leave. The founder sleeping only 4 hours a night. The eldest daughter supporting 3 generations, and the executive chasing milestones but losing meaning. We call it ambition, we call it sacrifice, but much of it is quiet self-destruction. Burnout doesn't announce itself with fireworks, it whispers. It's the fog in your brain, the bitterness in your heart, the tears that surprise you in the shower. We break slowly, silently, repeatedly, until one day we cannot hide it anymore. The truth is that many people never fully recover. Their confidence shatters, their vision dims, their faith in others shrieks. I've sat with high performers, doctors, executives, pastors, who can't feel joy anymore. They've succeeded publicly but collapsed privately. And behind the burnout is often the same. If I stop, it will all fall apart. But the reality is, if you don't stop, you will fall apart. And the people who love you, your children, your team, your community, they need you more than they need your output. In 2020, during my time in Saudi Arabia, the pressure was unrelenting. COVID-19 has turned everything upside down. I was working full shifts, managing crisis calls, supporting my team, and trying to balance family life. I remember sitting through a trauma call one night. A young man with massive internal bleeding. He didn't make it. After that, I walked out, sat in a hallway corner and cried, not loudly, not visibly, but deeply. It wasn't grief for that one case, it was accumulated depletion. The feeling that no matter how much I gave, I had nothing left. And yet, I still showed up the next day because that's what leaders do. Got that right? I leave you to answer that question. Leadership is not the art of pretending, it's the discipline of prioritizing sustainability. And that was my turning point. That's when I began to audit my energy, not just my calendar. We live in a society that claps for over-functioning. You're always working. You never sleep. You're so strong. But what is the applause for? For dying slowly while looking productive. For saying yes while falling apart. For being everything to everyone but present to yourself. There is no trophy for burnout. There is only resentment, regret, and recovery that takes longer than the damage did. We must shift the culture in our families, our startups, our ministries. We must begin to honor rest, rhythm, and reflection, to celebrate recovery as a mark of wisdom, not weakness. Because the builders we bury too early are often the ones who never learned how to sit still. And here's the truth. Most of us were never taught how to rest without guilt. We must teach that now, to ourselves, to our children, to our teams. Burnout is not just emotional fatigue, it's a chronic workplace syndrome, now formally recognized by the World Health Organization. It arises from prolonged exposure to unmanaged stress and manifests in 3 main ways. Firstly, emotional exhaustion, feeling drained and unable to cope. Secondly, depersonalization, growing cynical, distant, or emotionally numb. And lastly, reduced personal accomplishment, feeling ineffective or disconnected from one's work. Studies show that healthcare professionals, founders, and caregivers are some of the most at-risk groups. But it's not just about workload, it's about the absence of control, community, clarity, reward, fairness, and values alignment. If one or more of these 6 elements are consistently missing, even high performers will eventually spiral. A global study from Harvard Business Review in 2021 revealed that 89% of professionals feel their work-life balance is deteriorating, and 1 in 3 report physical symptoms related to stress. In Africa, where resilience is a cultural norm, we often mask these warning signs, but the consequences are undeniable. Decision fatigue leading to medical or financial errors, increased risk of hypertension, stroke, and depression, relationship breakdowns and absentee parenting, leaders losing the ability to dream, plan, and inspire. We must stop treating burnout as a badge of honor. It is a public health crisis, especially for those we expect to lead. Let me share the story of Joy. Joy is a pediatric nurse in Lagos who worked back-to-back shifts during the COVID-19 pandemic. She took pride in her work, often staying longer than scheduled, mentoring junior staff, and covering for others who called in sick. But slowly her spark began to dim. She stopped calling home. She stopped journaling. Her appetite vanished. Then, one night, while administering medication, she fainted. They rushed her to the hospital, ironically the very one she worked in. Severe dehydration, extreme fatigue, nervous exhaustion. It took 2 months of leave, counseling, and deliberate rebuilding to get her back to a healthy rhythm. So what changed? She started tracking her energy, not just her hours. She set boundaries for when she wouldn't pick up extra shifts. She reconnected with her hobbies, singing, gardening, reading novels. And most importantly, she began to say no without apology. Joy now teaches nurses how to manage compassion fatigue. Her recovery became her mission. Burnout can take you out, but it can also birth a new chapter if you heal with intention. Long before calendars, timesheets, and burnout workshops, African communities built natural rhythms of rest into their seasons. The Yoruba observed Ajo Isinmi, sacred rest days. The Ashanti honored the cycle of the moon to determine planting and reflection seasons. In Ika culture, markets rotated every 4 days, ensuring days of pause and play in between. Even storytelling by the fireside, like we're doing now, was not leisure alone. It was ritual recovery. Rest was not earned through exhaustion. It was embedded in life. How did we forget this? Colonial systems rewired our productivity. Capitalism commodified our energy. Globalization disconnected us from communal flow. Now, to restore balance, we must reclaim rhythm. We must work in cycles, not marathons. We must build rest into leadership calendars. We must honor the wisdom of elders who knew when to stop. African innovation doesn't mean abandoning our roots. It means anchoring them in modern relevance. Let's close with the stories of 3 leaders who chose sustainability and in doing so protected their fire. On Nelson Mandela, strategic withdrawal for rest after spending 27 years in prison. Mandela emerged not bitter but reflective. Even as president, he was known for moments of deliberate silence, for not reacting immediately to provocation. His leadership wasn't frantic, it was paced, thoughtful, strategic, and when his time was up, he stepped down. He didn't overstay, he didn't collapse under power. He protected his fire and handed the torch. 2. Wangari Maathai, environmentalist and Nobel Peace Prize laureate. Wangari spent years battling government forces and protecting Kenyan forests. But she also made time for song, for community, for dance. Her activism was rooted not just in struggle, but in joy. She taught this: you cannot protect the environment unless you empower people, you inform them, and you help them understand that these resources are their own. Empowerment, joy, rhythm, that's sustainable leadership. 3. Dr. Ameyo Adadevo's family legacy. After she died stopping Ebola's spread in Nigeria, her family set up the Dr. Ameyo Adadevo Health Trust. Her legacy didn't end in sacrifice, it became a movement. That's the paradox. When we lead sustainably, even if we burn briefly, the impact outlasts us. But when we live without rhythm, our work dies with us. Let your legacy live longer than your fatigue. I want to leave you with 3 questions. Where are you overfunctioning out of fear? Is it fear of disappointing others? Is it fear of irrelevance? Is it fear of being replaced? What would your life look like if you led with rhythm, not just responsibility? Would your mornings change? Would your relationships deepen? Would your health improve? Who needs to hear this episode? And what conversation must you start with them? Is it your co-founder, your spouse, your mentor? Now here's your challenge. The Build Before You Break challenge. This week I want you to do just 3 things. Take one whole evening off from all responsibilities. Write one clear no in a message or email. Book one recovery hour for yourself next week and honor it like it's your life. Because it might be. If you complete the challenge, tag me at Ikechukwu Okoh on LinkedIn or post your reflections with #Fireplace Conversations. Let's build a community of sustainable leaders who protect their fire. This has been Fireplace Conversations with Dr. Ikechukwu Okoh. Next week we explore the power of showing up, why consistency often beats brilliance. Until then, protect your fire, rebuild your rhythm, and remember, the one who rests lasts.